so far. I hope that everyone is staying safe and healthy during these times. My name is Yvonne Gonzalez, co-director of the Chicago Chapter for Latinas in Tech, along with Cecilia and our new board members, Andrea, Carla, and Daisy. I'd like to give everyone a warm welcome for joining us today on today's webinar for 3 steps to keep your career evolving with M. Concepcion Prado, who is an entrepreneur herself and is a founder of a Greenfield Group, Inc., and has over 25 years of experience. And before we get started, I'd like to give Concepcion a huge thank you on behalf of the Latinas in Tech organization for taking the time today to guide us through something that is important to always keep in mind, which is career growth. And before I hand it over to Concepcion, I'd like to give you a little more information on who Latinas in Tech is and who we are. Latinas in Tech is a nonprofit organization that aims to connect, support, and empower Latinas and Latinx professionals in the tech sector. We focus on 3 key areas, which is professional development, which are events like this, recruiting, and mentorship. And what originally started in the Silicon Valley has now expanded to over 11 chapters in cities like Chicago, of course, New York, Miami, Mexico City, LA, and a few other cities. We now have over 9,000 members who are serving the tech industry in roles like software engineering, recruiting, product management, PR, marketing, and other vital roles that are filling the tech sector. And in the end of today's webinar, Cecilia is going to talk a little bit more about how you can get involved and stay in touch with some of the stuff Latinas in Tech is doing if you're interested in learning more. And before I hand it over to Concepcion, there is one portion where there will be a Q&A where you will have a chance to give your questions to Concepcion in the Q&A button, which you will see in the bottom of your screen. Please don't be shy and share any questions you have. And if you upvote any of the questions people do share, Concepcion will do her best to answer the most popular ones. So now I'd like to pass it over to our speaker for today, Concepcion.
Hi, everyone. Hi, I hope everyone is happy, safe, and healthy. And I'm so glad that we were able to make this event. It was originally scheduled to be a live event in Chicago. It is now it's a live webinar, and we're celebrating Women's History Month. I cannot think of a better way to wrap it up, at least for myself. So here's what we're gonna do. Just a couple of housekeeping items I wanna talk about. It's an interactive session. And Yvonne said it's an interactive session. But let me tell you, we're going to a little bit about it so that you can be ready. I'm gonna go away in a moment, but I will come back. We're gonna watch a video. I'm gonna ask you, please pay attention because I will quiz you. Then we're gonna have a couple of activities. With these activities, you can use the mobile phone or your computer or pen and paper for the second one, or typing, whatever it is. This is for you to think about your career, how it's going to evolve. How did you get here? So we're gonna talk about these things. And I wanna hear all of this information from you. You're muted. So if you have any questions, please use your Q&A box. Take a moment, find your Q&A box, open it up, and this is where you're going to share some of the information on your activities. So let's get started. I'm going to share my slides right now, and I will see you again during Q&A. Yes, I promise I'm going to share my slides. Ah, caray. Finally, okay. Ah, ya caray. Okay, finalmente. Okay, ladies and gents, if you're out there, here we go. Are you ready to get started? First thing, we're going to see the video. So here we go.
An actor, a doctor, FBI agent, and my dad wants me to be a lawyer. I want to be either a vet or an actress, a soccer player, or a judge of a court. A veterinarian because I like animals. I want to be a singer when I grow up. Every day I would have to go like on the red carpet, have my own talk show.
When I grow up, I want to be an interior designer.
A pro dancer on Dancing with the Stars, or a spy. I want to be a criminologist. The people that study crimes. Or, yeah, a mathematician. Actress. Or a fashion designer. Or, when I grow up, I'd like to be a doctor. I got to dissect a rat. I can't be like a surgeon because I hate blood, so then I'd throw up over everything. An artist. Blue, pink, yellow, pink, and red and purple. Well, I haven't really decided on what I want to be. Or
I just want to make a lot of money.
I don't really have one thing, but I want to keep my options, out there. Play it by ear. Do what my mom does, and then we can eat lunch together. I don't really know, because my mom said it's boring. I woke up and then I realized that that's what I wanted to be when I grew up. Being famous would be fun.
Yeah.
Like Beyonce. Being Beyonce would be awesome. I don't really know. It's a long time from now. I kind of think you can be whatever you want as long as you can set your mind to it.
What you want to be when you grow up should be an ever-evolving question.
Now I just realized that I don't want to be that. I want to be a real estate agent now.
When I was a kid, I wanted to be a late-night TV talk show host, weather girl, a doctor,
fashion designer,
an amazing singer, an astrophysicist, and Janet Jackson,
first woman president of the United States.
I want to be a
Okay. What do you think about this? Step one, we want to reflect. Let's think about it. What was the first thing that came to your mind when you watched this video? You can say it loudly out there. No one's listening. You're in your home or in your car. How do you feel after you're watching this video? Okay. Did it make you think about what you wanted to be? What did you want to be when you grew up? Okay, let's talk about it. Or tell me about it. Tell us, share it with everybody. The question really here is, what did you want to be when you were young? So the way to respond, what did you want to be when you were young? Let's take a poll, and you will see the results live on the screen as you're entering. So here's what you need to do. Either follow the instructions on the left or on the right. Oh, thank you. I saw that, the comments. Okay, the Q&A box works. So type in your response or on a text. So if you go to poll, polled.com, you can enter my name, Concepcion, all lowercase works, all lowercase, Concepcion, PR 150. So do that. And as you're typing those responses or text, the same thing, to that number, 22333, Concepcion, PR 150, and you can do your responses. Look at all of things that are coming in. These are coming in live. Astronauts, teacher, biologist, curator, a mermaid. Who wants to be a mermaid? So the letters are getting larger because there are multiples. The number of teachers and the number of astronauts. It's going to stop when we have 25. The system is capturing it. Scientists. I like all of these. When you were young, you were dreaming big, already dreaming big. Okay, it looks like we're not getting any more. The graphic is not changing. So it's at a point at a stop. This particular graphic is going to be available to you through Latinas in Tech. If you're interested in seeing it or keeping it, especially if you see your wishes or your goals when you were young up here. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. Keeping this in mind. So this is the reflection activity. But keeping this in mind, you're going to take this information going forward to the next one, the next topic. Okay, step 2, let's write it down. So let me share with you these amazing statistics. These statistics are from a Harvard business school study that was made in 2016. But this is amazing. 83% of the population does not have goals. Take that in. 14% they have a plan in mind, but they're unwritten goals. And only 3% of the populations have goals written down. What does this tell us? We got to write them down, ladies and gents. The study further went on to say that of these 14% that do have goals, 10 times are more successful than those without goals. And of the 3% that do have their goals written, they're 3 times more successful than the 14% with unwritten goals. We need to write it down. And it's a very, very valuable tool. Because when they're written, it's like a contract. It's going to hold you accountable, even to yourself. And if you share it with others, others can hold you accountable. But when you're writing it down, you want to be able to answer why. Why is this a goal? When you were young and what you wanted to be, why did you want to be those things? We want to write them down. And then there are other ways when you're writing your goals down, you can make it fun. You can convert your goal into an inspiring mantra. So what would that sound like? Let me give you an example. So let's say you're a manager and you say, somebody asks you, you say, I manage 10 direct reports. How would you turn that into an inspiring mantra? Well, one way is you can say, instead of I manage 10 direct reports, you can say, I am the manager of a connected 10-person team. This is turning your mantra into something bigger. You're writing it down, something you can celebrate. All right. Let's talk about actions. Step 3. It's really simple. You're creating an action plan. And creating an action plan, you're writing it down. It's allowing you to review your goals on a weekly or a monthly basis. You want to celebrate your wins. And especially you want to get support from others. And one thing I could say, all of you being here today, being connected to this webinar, you're already taking an action. That's exactly what you're doing. And you're with a network support group of Latinas in tech that are here to support. So you're one step in the game. So let's talk about SMART. So SMART is a tool. It's actually a technique that you can use when you're creating your action plans. What does it mean? The SMART it's the technique that your goals be, or your actions, what you have in your plan, that they be very specific. Being here today was a very specific action. It's measurable, it's achievable, it's relevant, and it's timely. So one of the ways to use this tool is you want to have it in front of you. You can put it on your action plan, SMART. And it's not just because you're smart for doing it, but because SMART means something. And it means to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, timely. You can say that 10 times really fast. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, timely. And then you'll be on your way to having an action plan. So we're learning about this, right? Reflecting, step 1, writing it down, step 2, and an action plan, step 3. Now it's your turn. Here's another activity for you to take on, for you to tell us. So let's think about it. Take some time to think about it and respond to these questions. So we mentioned earlier what you want. You told us earlier what you wanted to be when you were young. So now take some time, write it down on your computer, on your mobile phone notes, or on a pen and paper. What is your career today? You wanted to be a scientist when you were young. What is your career today? That's the first thing. The second thing you want to tell us is, what is the thread? Is there a thread between what you wished for when you were young and today, and what you're doing today? And what I mean by what is the thread between your wishes when you were young to today is It could be an experience that you had that led you to be where you are today. It could be a person that you know, or somebody important that you crossed path with. What is that thread? Understanding that about you, that self-awareness about you, will help you identify number 3 question that you want to write down right now. And that is, where do you want to go next? What do you want to do next? I'm taking my quiet time right now so that you are able to write it down, because I want you to share it with me. This is an exercise for you, and we can talk about it, any questions that you may have during the Q&A. I'll give you about 5 more minutes. This is truly an exercise for you to write down. And if some of you are out there and you want to share, type it into the Q&A box. A few more minutes. Anybody want to share what the thread is? The creativity? Somebody shared. The thread is creativity, and I want to be a great storyteller. Mariana, I hope you don't mind. I will share your thread. I'm a recruiter. I always wanted to be a reporter and share people's stories. They're related in that I like to be an advocate for people, especially now that I focus on hiring for underrepresented groups. That's lovely, Mariana. Fab. Building community and relationships. Is that where you want to grow? What you want to do next? What you want to continue to do? You're welcome, Mariana. We have an anonymous attendee, and if you don't mind, I'm going to share what your thread is. Anonymous says, I wanted to be a filmmaker or work in media. I ended up working in broadcasting sales. From there, recruited into a software vendor company because of my knowledge of the media industry. Experience has been my thread. Your own experience. Thank you for sharing, Anonymous.
I wouldn't mind sharing if you don't mind either. So I think for me, when I was growing up, I wanted to be one of the astronauts. I was one of the wannabe astronauts. I think my thread was curiosity, because for my career, I started in education and eventually transitioned to technology just because of my curiosity about learning more and wanting to know what else out there, similar to the planets. So I've always been a very curious person, and I think that's kind of gotten me to a lot of different places and has allowed me to meet a lot of different people and connect with a lot of people.
Thank you for sharing, Cecilia. We all learn from each other, from one another. And I think it's very important as a group of people, minorities, who we are, male or female, that we exchange our histories, our stories. So for Alma, who is out there, and she's saying that storytelling is the thread for her too. Thank you, Alma, for sharing. I think that storytelling is very important, whether we do it by writing it down or by vocalizing our stories, our backgrounds. So Alma is sharing some more. She says, I wanted to be a radio host. Now I work in PR, so communication and storytelling is my thread. I want to continue telling stories that last and make an impact in people's lives. That's wonderful. We can probably do this for a really, really long time. But what I want to do is I want to move on. And I want to tell you that what you're writing down right now, share it with others, share it with Latina in Tech, share it with me, because I think it's really important. And especially if you want to be held accountable, share it with us and we'll find a way to make you accountable for where you want to go next. We'll do that as a group. All right. So let's talk about, let's see. I wanted to share with you this mindset. Some of the tools and some of the ideas that we're learning today, that we're talking about today, the smarts, the steps, writing it down and the importance of it. It comes from mindset. It comes from being growth minded and having a growth mindset. So I'm not making all of this stuff up. This is things that we learn, and a book that I recommend to everyone, because you always want to evolve. We always have to constantly be learning. So this book, it's called Mindset. I recommend it to you. And there's some really nice quotes. I mean, this author, she's a PhD. She's very well known. And it doesn't matter what stage you are in your career. If you're a student, whether it's undergrad student or a graduate student or just a student of life, she's got some very valuable quotes and ways of thinking. So that's it. I want you to pick it up if you have a chance at the public library when they're ever open, or at a bookstore if they ever open or when they open. So thank you. This wraps up the content, the tools that I'm sharing with you for the steps to keep you evolving. Now let's talk about what your questions are. What do you want to know? And I want to say here that all questions are valid questions. They could be about Latina and tech. They can be about your own career. They could be about me. They can be about anything that you'd want to know that is related to evolving your profession, that is related to evolving as a professional or as a person on a personal level too. Please type them in at the Q&A box.
I had typed one earlier and I wanted to just get your opinion on this. What is your style of goal setting? Do you have typically like a 5 to 10 year plan, or what do you usually recommend when you're helping someone with their plans, with their goal setting plans?
Okay, it's a really good question. And I'll tell you, I do a variety of things. So in 2016, I took a class. It was a leadership class at the University of Chicago, part of my MBA program. And one of the classes involved the homework assignment was to create a plan for myself, because I had to write it down. This professor had this saying, if you don't write it down, it doesn't exist. And so that was her mantra. Her mantra is, if you don't write it down, it does not exist. So the assignment was to write a plan, and I opted to write a 10-year plan. And I'll tell you, I am executing on that plan. So that's one way, is that my 10-year plan right now, I'm in the middle of it. I started it, executing on it in 2016, and I'm still executing it. And where I am in it, I'll let you know in 2024. Did I accomplish what I wrote down? It was a 10-page plan with details, with specifics, and goals. Other thing for short terms and what I do on a regular basis, I write Post-it notes. I have things with Post-it notes. I have 3 or 4 notebooks that I have for various activities. And in each one of those notebooks, you will see scribbles, you will see notes, you will see ideas. And I also even have one on my cell phone. I have a folder in my cell phone. I have ideas and things come to mind. I'm on the street, I'm on the train, and I write it down. And it's just a habit that I have been practicing for the last few years. And I feel that I'm effective. I feel that I'm accountable to myself. I owe it to myself now that I wrote it down to do these things. Whatever it is that I'm writing down.
There's another question from Sandro Olivera. How do you make sure you're keeping track of your goals? How often do you check, and how you break up your big goals at the same time?
Is this question for me? For Concepcion? I have, like I mentioned, I keep track of them because I have my calendars and my notebooks. And I have my calendar is a very filled up calendar. So if I can accomplish the things that I have set out to do in a week, I do it. And I'm going to celebrate today and finishing this live webinar with Latinas at Tech. It's important to me that the people who are in attendance are happy with it, are getting a value for themselves. And I worked hard on it. And it was a goal of mine at the beginning of the planning process. It's been some time, the month of March, and I'm going to celebrate it when it's over, when we're done. And I hope everybody has a good feedback. So these are my short-term goals. It was steps to get to, it was a variety of steps to get to this today. And I'm just using today as an example because it was important to me that it become a good session for everybody and valuable for everybody. Calendars, activities, post-it notes, there isn't one way. On a long-term goal, I have my letters that I wrote to myself years ago with my 10-year plan. And that one I'm not checking on a regular basis. That one, maybe once a year or maybe once, twice a year, not more than that. I'm more focused on my day-to-day and living for today than the 10-year plan. And the reason why is because many of the actions that I have on a short term are all targeting towards that longer range plan. They're related, they're connected. So Carolyn, I see Carolyn asked, not a question, she's looking for Latinas with similar interests. So Carolyn, I would love to know what some of those interests are. Oh, Carolyn is out there and she has something to say. And it is, I own an IT services business in Chicago. I do too. We're in the same, we have common interests, Carolyn. Supporting schools with field support. Also consulting services to educators to enhance teaching and learning for students in under-resourced communities. After 32 years as an entrepreneur, having been a volunteer advocate for education for Latinos, now is launching a nonprofit for Latinx tech equity, bringing innovative programs in schools and communities to increase Latinos and Latinas in tech. I love that. There wasn't a question there. I'm going through the Q&A box for questions. We have a question here from Yvette. I am interested in working towards becoming self-employed. What advice would you share with me about starting a business? Well, starting a business is, to me, is a very, it's so easy to start a business from a technical standpoint. You know, you could log in to Illinois Driver and set up a business and a corporation. Very easy to do. You can do it in 1 hour. And it's all online, and it'll cost like $300. But I don't think that's what your question is really asking. Becoming self-employed, there's a lot of risk. I've been self-employed for 20-something years, and it hasn't always been, it has its ups and downs, and it's risky. And it's risky, in my opinion, because I am the head of household. I have children to feed, and we always have to be out there looking for your customers, looking for your clients, and that is challenging because there will always be things like the coronavirus or external factors to make those ups and downs. You don't know what life will bring, but it's very rewarding to be self-employed. And the reason why it's rewarding is if you're somebody that likes to have control of your life, to control of where you work and how you work and who you choose your clients, it's very rewarding in the long run. In the short run, you have a lot of work to do, and it takes years. I believe it takes years to get to a place where I felt confident enough and strong enough that I know what I'm doing. And I believe in myself enough to know that I can be an entrepreneur for the rest of my days, and that I will have a successful, growing, thriving business for the rest of my days. I will not retire. So my advice to you is think about how risk averse you are. How do you jump at and take risks easily or not? And think about if you do take the decision to become self-employed and take those risks, to know that you're really in for working hard. But the long game, it's rewarding, at least for me. I'm responding for me. Very rewarding. Fab has the question. A 10-year plan in 2014 is a huge accomplishment. I am curious to hear, how often do you revise or revisit the goals in the 10-year plan? And then for somebody who does not have a 10-year plan, how often should you be creating and modifying those goals? Okay, so I do have my 10-year plan, and I don't change it. So I typed it up and I printed it up, and it's one of those things where, you put it in a box with a cover that says read again in 2024. It's one of those things. In the educational field, it's an assignment that many kids in elementary or high school students do. I just did this as a grad student and as an adult. So I have my plan that I do not change. I will not revise it, but I do revisit it. So I have revisited maybe once or twice a year, and I do it because I want to know, will I be able to meet those goals that I had? It's an ambitious plan. It is a challenging plan, and I'm getting there. It's not halfway there yet, but I am meeting and taking action towards that plan every year for the last 4.5, 5 years. And then for somebody who does not have a 10-year plan, how often should you be creating and modifying the goals? So if you do not have a 10-year plan today, here's your homework assignment. Your homework assignment is to write a letter to yourself. Dear Fab, write a letter to yourself and just openly and honestly, no one's going to read it. Do create a plan. Your plan can include where you are now, who are you, why are you doing what you're doing, what risks, what you want to accomplish, what would take you away from what would take you away from those goals? Are there risks? And what are some action items that you plan to take? And I'm thinking specific action items. When you're talking about risks that would take you away from that plan, think specific details. My plan is a 10-year plan. That's your homework assignment for those who do not have a 10-year plan. You can go 20 years. I did 10 because I'm older in my life and I wanted to be able to live to read it. But if you're, in your early 20s and you want to break it up to 10 or 15 or 20 years, you can do that. It's a challenge to yourself, something that you can revisit every 5 years or every 10 years. Thank you for asking that question, Fab. Megan asks the question, how do you evolve from a doer to a leader? That's a very good question. And one of the things that I'm reading into your question is that there are times in our careers, we all have to pay our dues. And what I mean is, if you're starting entry level, you do work. I started my career as a programmer. I was a developer of systems applications, and I was a programmer for years. How do you evolve? You do it by taking job changes is one way where that position or that role is going to lead you to have more responsibility. And you also have to combine that from a doer, from a programmer. I went to a business analyst, systems analyst. And from a business systems analyst, I evolved into a project manager. And from a project manager, I have evolved into a strategic plan consultant and business process consultant. So every step that I have made or role that I take in terms of client or consultant engagement are tactical ways for me to achieve my strategic plan. So it's a step or an action that I've taken to move up from a doer to a leader. And I can say I've accomplished it. Have been very proactive in my career. During some times, of course, there are times when we cannot do it for whatever family reasons or life reasons that we evolve. But we could be doers and you can be leaders. And once you're a leader, I think that anybody who's a doer is a leader. And I think every leader should have a certain level of doer ability, because if you're an entrepreneur, for example, you need to be able to roll up your sleeves and do the work that your team will do as well. I hope that answered your question, Megan. Thank you for answering the question, for asking the question. Ingrid, what part was your favorite part from the Mindset book? So one of the things that I go back to the Mindset book for is quotes. And I find that author, this book you're going to see is not so much a professional book as it is a book that can be used by parents, teachers, for educators. It's more of a personal book. So I go back to that book for the quotes. I like the quotes. They are nuggets that you can repeat and take away to remind you of some of the more dense content in the book, because it could be dense in terms of a lot of content and take some time to read. But the quotes are my favorite. Thank you for asking that question, Ingrid. Jasmine, I'm almost done with undergrad. This will be my last. Question because I just realized we're running out of time, and I want to give the opportunity for Latinas and Tech to finish up and wrap up the session. So this will be my last question. I'm almost done with my undergrad career, attending the University of Michigan School of Information. Can you share some of the goals you had coming out of college? So coming out of my undergrad, I have a computer science degree from the University of Illinois here at Chicago, UIC. And as a I was already a computer programmer. My goals were to get a professional job, and I did at one of the biggest companies in Chicago at the time. So doing very well at my job was my number one goal. I wanted to succeed. I didn't know my first job out of college, and I wanted to succeed. So goals, fitting in, goals, making sure I can do the job, goals, creating a group of people and a network at my new job in a professional environment that I did not have before. So in some ways, you're coming out of college, you're going to have an opportunity to start a new phase in life and reset. So congratulations. I hope that answered your question, Jasmine.
Hey, Concepcion, we're going to stop here with the questions. But thank you so much for answering everyone's questions. Where can people connect with you and they can learn more about what you're doing and how you're taking up your personal career growth and leadership?
Yes, in this next slide. There we go. So my contact information is here. It's on the screen. Feel free, if you want to be accountable for your exercises today, send them to me. You can reach out to me via email, mcprado@greenfieldgroupinc.com, or on LinkedIn. So feel free. If you remind me that you were on this session, live webinar on LinkedIn, we're automatically connected.
Thank you, Concepcion, and thank you once again for hosting this important webinar on career growth. I definitely had time to reflect on what I wanted to be when I was young to where I am today. I think one of the big takeaways that I like to point out is, and it's something that we're all aware of, is writing down our goals, like writing down specific goals of what you want to achieve, and then also just letting people know what you want to do. But I think the biggest takeaway from that is the why. Like, why do you want to accomplish this? Or why do you want to take this role? Or why do you want to be part of a specific industry in tech, for example? I think it's easy to forget as we get busy in our lives, the why. Why do we want to recruit? Do we want to help people land their dream job? Why do we want to be a software engineer? Do we want to create something awesome that can help the community? And for me, that was the biggest takeaway. And now I'm going to pass it over to Cecilia to talk a little bit more about where you can find us and how you can get involved. And again, Concepcion, we want to give you a big thank you on behalf of Latinas in Tech and everyone for joining today. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. So I know this is just kind of our own little shout out for Latinas in Tech. If you like the work that Latinas in Tech is doing, we encourage you to give back and to your community so we can continue this work and give more help to those Latinas out there that are in technology. So please feel free to visit our latinasintech.org website at latinasintech.org/donate. And that you will learn there more about how to get more involved as well in your communities, because we know that not everybody in this call is from Chicago only, but there's many chapters, and I'm pretty sure a few more coming. So yeah, let me see here. So and with that said, if you haven't done so already, feel free to register at our website as well as an official member at the latinasintech.org website. We have all of our events and programs there listed, and they're all completely free. So you can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Slack, and all the things in the world.